Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all of the witnesses for being here and helping us with this very important subject. Every 6 days in Canada, a woman is killed from intimate partner violence. And it's clear to me that none of the actions that have been put in place work. Many of these women don't leave. I certainly am well acquainted with coercive control. And even if they get a no-contact order, it doesn't work. People violate them, nothing happens, and then they kill their partner. And so I'd like to start with Ms. Coyle. You talked about preventive actions that we might take. Could you elaborate on those?
Thank you so much. I think first and foremost, and this came out of the recommendations from the Mass Casualty Commission, give organizations that work with survivors of violence epidemic level funding and make it ongoing. If a person who is experiencing coercive control has access to a safe place to escape and can bring her children and her pets with her, then that is one of the first hurdles. I understand that this bill cannot require funding to be, brought forward, but I do think that that's an important piece of this discussion. If you want awareness to bring awareness to what is known as coercive control, then start a very public campaign about it. Teach children about it in school. We need to start early. Provide financial supports and training. All of the people who've appeared before you have spoken about training and employment for opportunities for people who are escaping coercive control. Provide adequate funding for legal aid lawyers and legal aid certificates so that lawyers who are representing criminalized survivors of coercive control can actually tell their stories. And finally, we should be utilizing the defense of coercive control much more than we are criminalizing coercive control. Thank you.
Good. And now another question for Ms. Ritchie. I see in the bill that there is a defense where you would claim that what you were doing was in the person's best interests. And while I can see situations where that might be true, somebody that has Alzheimer's or something, you have to, take care of them, make sure that they don't harm themselves. But in fact, one of the characteristics of coercive control is that the perpetrator is telling somebody that they're doing this because it's in their best interest. So could you tell me whether you think this defense as it's written is appropriate?
I do think it's appropriate as it's written because the perpetrator is in control of the victim. And so what the perpetrator is doing is using specific tactics in order to manage the victim, to make the victim feel as though they're responsible for the violence that's being perpetrated against them. So they will convince the victim that it is in their best interest around controlling the family finances, or that maybe in subtle ways that they maybe shouldn't be able to go out and see family and friends. So sorry, excuse me, I'm just a little bit nervous.
No, that's okay. And really, that's exactly the point. I mean, although the perpetrator may say it's in your best interests, why should it be able to be used as a defense that I was doing it because it was in their best interests? I think there's